despite constantly complaining that it's his court appearances that are keeping him off the campaign trail, Donald Trump is set to host another golf tournament this weekend. This one for a league funded by the Saudi Arabian government. At Trump Doral in Miami, Florida, amateurs and professionals will tee off later today for a live golf event. It comes as questions persist about conflicts of interest regarding Trump's political and business relationships with Saudi Arabia, which just happens to be where he made his first foreign trip as president, to Riyadh. According to the New York Times, Trump also recently spoke with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, for reasons that are not yet clear. And the same wealth fund that is bankrolling Live Golf also gave $2 billion to an investment firm run by Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, just months after the family left the White House. Joining us now, conservative commentator and MSNBC contributor, Charlie Sykes. Good morning, Charlie. Thank you for joining us this morning. So just give us your impressions here. How concerned should Americans be about the nature of Donald Trump's relationship with the Saudi government? This comes at a time where he, of course, has been accused and charged with mishandling classified information, as well as a moment where the man could use some money and the Saudi crown prince has lots of it.
Well, this whole story is a reminder, that behind all of the dictator for one day and all the felonies, there's always the grift. It's always about money for Donald Trump. And this story has three elements that I think are really fascinating. I mean, number one, his hotel business is tanking. He's increasingly dependent on his golf business, and the golf business is increasingly dependent on people like the Saudis. And to your point, the more Donald Trump gets pushed in the corner, the more he is likely to reach out to his foreign buddies, the ties with Saudi Arabia being the most dramatic. So how concerned ought we to be? Very concerned, especially this conversation that he had with MBS. Look, the Biden administration is working on a Mideast peace deal, and Donald Trump may be opening a back channel. And of course, Jared Kushner may be opening a back channel that is financial as well as political. With Donald Trump, you just simply cannot disentangle his business conflicts from everything else. And so, yes, I think people ought to be alarmed. I think people ought to be concerned about his relationship with the governments of China, with Vladimir Putin, with Viktor Orban, and of course with MBS, who, by the way, let's remind our listeners, is actually a murderer. He actually, killed an American citizen, and unfortunately appears to be getting away with it.
Yeah, the U.S. intelligence believes MBS ordered the killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi a few years ago, and for which he was not condemned by then President Trump. So let's talk about it. It's not just Americans who are concerned. Certainly the world is watching Donald Trump here now, just a few months from the election, where he stands about a 1 in 2 chance of being president again. We're seeing NATO take steps to try to create a fund for Ukraine that Trump couldn't touch. We're seeing concerns about policies he might have towards China, other places. Talk to us about how the world is watching this election right now, Charlie.
Well, the world is alarmed, and they ought to be alarmed. We've just had the 75th anniversary of NATO, and I think NATO is realizing that the clock is running. The clock is running on American leadership in the world. It's hard to overstate what it would mean for the global situation if somebody like Donald Trump gets into office. I mean, a green light for Vladimir Putin, maybe a green light for China with Taiwan, maybe the end of NATO as a cohesive unit. So they are deeply alarmed, and I think they have every reason to be.
So, Charlie, we're about 7 months, almost exactly, from the election. There's a lot on President Biden's plate right now, with the situation in Gaza now being very much at the forefront. This tough language in this phone call yesterday with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Yeah. What are some of the things that he needs to do, both domestically and in foreign policy, that will help him win re-election?
Well, he's got to somehow, fix the policy with Israel and Gaza, because what he's been doing so far apparently has not been working. He's been trying to pressure Benjamin Netanyahu, who apparently is not listening. And Netanyahu has a long history of doubling down with his policies. So he's got to resolve many of those things. But again, he's going to have to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. He's also going to have to continue to show that he is up to the job. It's interesting that the narrative has shifted away from some of the hand wringing from earlier this year. But I think he's got a lot about his age and about his capacity and everything. But I think he's got a long way to go to be able to do that. However, I do think that some of the polling would suggest that more and more Americans are coming to grips with something I think they've been in denial about, that this was going to be a rerun of Biden versus Trump. They didn't want that rerun, but that's what they're going to get.
That's what they're going to get. And now we'll have to see how Americans feel about that choice now that it is right in front of them. MSNBC contributor and author of the book, How the Right Lost Its Mind, Charlie Sykes. Thank you as always. Have a good weekend. And
hey, everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.